Hello, everybody. This is Nuka Cam. You can just call me Cam. Um, so here's what this video is going to be. If you haven't heard of it before, there's a thing called an NFL disaster draft. Now, the thing behind it is a situation where there is enough players that are hurt to the point where they can't play football or worse, and there's enough of them on a team that would cause for a potential contingency plan to be played out where the team has a couple different situations that could play out. This is set in multiple different set in different pro leagues in general, but this is Madden that we're talking about, so we're doing National Football League, of course. Now, the NFL has two different plans. They have a near disaster or a disaster. The near disaster is when there's 15 players or less that suffer a disabling injury or worse. But we're focused on the disaster side of things, which is 15 or more. That is what we're doing here in Madden, because I thought, you know what? This sounds like a fun video idea, a fun rebuild idea. I haven't seen anyone do this before. I haven't, when I researched to find if anyone did a video on it, I didn't find anyone. If they did, then that's awesome for them, because they came up with a great idea before I did. But if I'm the first to do that, then that's pretty cool too. But I'll just go ahead and tell you guys exactly what's going to happen in this rebuild. And I'm doing a voiceover because, man, oh man, was I just yapping away on stream, because I was streaming this all. So I streamed for about 6 hours total. So I'm going to be going through 6 hours of stream, and I'd rather not have to sit down and actually listen to what I say. So I'm just going to do a voiceover for a lot of the early stuff, at least. So what we have here is the disaster. The disaster in question is up to you guys. I'm not gonna make any scenario in my head here. It's all up to you. Whoever has the best comment in the comment section, then you get the canon event of what happens to these players on the Tennessee Titans. Now, because I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, you know what, the whole Tennessee Titans roster in real life suffered a terrible incident. I simmed about 20 years in the future, a little bit less, I believe. It was more like 18, I think. So that we could filter out all the real people, and then we just have the generated CPU draft class players, and that's it. So that's the point that we got to. So we're just saying these imaginary people are in no condition to play football anymore. Unfortunately, the whole team is injured or worse, depending on what you guys want that to be. So the exact scenario that we're playing out is we have the whole season canceled, quote unquote, by the commissioner, me, really, and we just force loss for our whole schedule that season. And then we have the first overall pick in the draft to compensate for that. And then you might be saying, well, you know, you're losing all 53 players. How are you going to put a team out there? Like, you're just going to have free agents and that's it? It's like, no, actually, this is where the special disaster draft comes into play. And how that comes into play is each team gets to protect 32 of their own players, and then the team that has the disaster happen to them gets to draft their roster from those unprotected players. So it's mostly backups for the most part, but there's still a couple guys here and there that are like, oh, you know, he's an older veteran guy, but he's still the better player, but there's a rookie behind him, and they make sense that they wouldn't protect the older guy. So that's what we did here. Now, I will say, it didn't exactly go as planned, it still went okay, to be honest. It went fine. It's still a good rebuild start here from what I can see, because it's going to be a challenge, but I will say the disaster drafts turned out to be a little bit more of a disaster after the draft as well. So that we will get into when we get there. So the next step in the process was obviously simming through the 0-17 part of the season with the players that we grabbed. It was kind of just a we'll just see how it goes type thing. Unfortunately, we did have to find out that all of our guys were kind of needing contracts. By all, I mean 38, I think. But still, that's most of the players on our team needed a new contract. Which proved to be a problem because we did not have the cap space to re-sign all of them. But that's okay. You know why? Because it makes it more of a challenge and more of a disaster. So it's all for good fun. That's all it is. So we ended up, doing the normal process, scouting some players, setting our scouts, make sure we get a big chunk of the players that we want scouted. I didn't go too in depth on most players. There's just a couple guys that I looked at and I was like, ooh, you know what? That'd be a guy that I'd like to draft. But otherwise, we kind of were just winging it in the draft. But on the other side of things, we were very interested to see just kind of who on the team put up decent stats in Sim while going on 17. We really only had one guy, and that was Roth, the wide receiver, who, spoiler alert, we do manage to keep him on the team because we signed him, and it was definitely a necessity, as he did make the Pro Bowl and got started out. Only guy to get a dev increase on the team, so there's that. But going into the off season, we managed to sign some guys back. We managed to bring in some new guys. We did kind of have to deal with just signing some crappy guys who want to play football with us, which is not many. There's not many people who wanted to, and there were some really solid players who I wanted to sign, but I just did not have the money to sign them if I wanted to put out a full football team. So I had to pass on those guys, unfortunately. But we did bring in enough guys to where we can make it almost work. We're very close, very close. We had a good amount of people. We were like 10 guys short after free agency, and we had 7 draft picks. So it was like, okay, we could trade back, get some picks, maybe fill on those 10 spots, or we could just take 7 guys and see what we can do after the draft with undrafted guys. So in the draft, as you'll see from the video, we spent a lot of time really looking at certain players and deciding what we should do with the first pick, especially should we trade it. Trade hauls were really nice. I mean, for the first overall pick, there was a lot of teams giving up 3 first rounds. Some teams also giving up 3 second rounds as well. So just not having the first 2 rounds of picks for the next 3 years for them. Very tempting. Was very tempting, but I stuck with our pick with James Jenkins. He was the guy from the start. The quarterback, he looked great. He had great arm, great athlete overall. I had to go with him. I was not going to put Gibbs as my quarterback, actually, because he wasn't even on the team at that point because we couldn't re-sign him. So we weren't going to rock with just some random bridge quarterback. I was like, this quarterback's here. He's amazing. We have the first pick overall here. We need to take a guy that we think is going to be insanely good, and we might not get another chance at this, depending on how this future season goes. So we pulled the trigger on him. With the next pick, I had a lot of debate with, do I draft one of the guys that I was looking at on the defensive side of the ball, specifically the front 7, because we needed pass rush help. desperately. I mean, we needed help everywhere, but pass rush was really, really, really important. And the only thing that really turned me away from that was we have okay players on the defensive line other than the interior, and the offensive line is just disgustingly bad because we lost most of our good parts of the O-line. So we decided to go O-line, and we did get Cameron Gore, who is a solid piece for us. Into the third round, at the top of the third, we did end up getting Reggie Bowers, who was a defensive end, so we still get a guy that we liked on the defensive front. And he's very helpful because he plays more interior. In the fourth round, we really just were in a spot where we could take anything. We decided to go running back with Atkinson, speedy running back. We had a need for a third running back, and I saw great speed, and I was like, let's do that, because that balances out well with our 85 speed running back we currently have starting. And then in the fifth round, of course, we needed receiver for our new quarterback, so we got McClendon, who was speedy as well. In the sixth round, took a shot at Terrence Givens, who I thought was going to be a 62 overall, ended up being a 67. Was pretty solid, not like game breaking or anything, but he's a guy that could develop into a starter, or might have to start sooner rather than later, which we'll see how that goes. And then in the seventh round, we managed to get a decent enough corner because he looked okay, because it's just like throwing a dart blindfolded. You really just taking a shot at a random player with no expectations, so I just took whoever I thought looked best. And at that time, it was him. So you'll see in the picture behind me at this point, and it's been shown for maybe a minute now, this is the starting offense at the moment. This is just with the best overall guys where they're at. I will adjust the depth chart, when we get to that point, and you guys will see that happen. But the offense, not as good as it looks prior to this season with everybody, but you know what? It's not horrible in the grand scheme of things. It's really not. And I'll go more into depth with what this offense is like when we get into the next video, because that will be, I think, better for at least where I'm at recording wise. Yippee. But moving on to defense, it's probably worse. It really is. There's a couple good spots, and again, I'll go into it more in the next video, but yeah, this is going to be a very interesting rebuild. So I know the recording wise, maybe a little scuffed. Of course, it's my first video attempting anything like this, so you gotta give me a little bit of leeway here. I'm still learning, but I really did enjoy streaming it. I mean, 6 hours. I might just upload the VODs as well to YouTube as well. 6 hours. If anyone really wants to watch those, go for it. Like, I'm not entertaining for the entire time, or most of it maybe. Depends on your view on me as a person, which I guess you don't really know me that well, depending on who's watching. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm very excited to play this. I think this will be a very fun franchise to try and rebuild and see what we can do, and see what guys can become franchise players into building this up into a Super Bowl team. So thank you all for watching this video. If you did make it this far, I really appreciate it. If you want to follow, awesome. If not, that's fine too. I have no problem with that. I understand that not everyone's gonna like this content. Not everyone's going to think this is something they want to incorporate in their content watching, and that's okay, because I can tell you there's plenty amount of YouTubers that I just don't watch. Myself personally, I really only watch Bengal. No offense to anyone else, I did used to watch more. It's just where I'm at in life, I really only like watching Bengals videos, and I understand if I don't end up in your rotation. That's fine. If you want to leave a like, very much appreciate it. If not, that's fine as well. Feel free to comment on things, whatever you want. I don't really care whether it's a compliment or whether it's something I could do better or something about the series as a whole and the team. Maybe some suggestions on maybe moving a player to a certain position, or maybe, I don't know, maybe giving someone a shot. I don't know. Whatever you guys want to leave in the comments, it's up to you. Within reason, don't be weird, you know, be a little bit, have some, that etiquette, as they say. But other than that, I appreciate you all watching. Thank you. And if you want to check out my streams, I can't say I have a schedule nailed down yet. Ideally, Mondays and Wednesdays. That's unsure about the times, but right now that's my goal. But I'll let you guys know if there's any more about that with a more finalized idea of a schedule. I do plan on posting these videos to YouTube. I plan on posting these to TikTok and clips as well. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.